In Monster Hunter World, there are many aspects to consider when taking on a hunt. The target, your weapon, these are all important, but hunters who want optimal performance need to consider the build they use via the gear and armor they wear. I'm Darcblade, and here are the builds that I use for the Heavy Bowgun. The skills that you can gain from armor and even some weapons can help shape your hunter into specialized hunting machines. With the Heavy Bowgun, I've gone for a range of builds here. Most of them do focus on DPS, however there are some that specialise on solo play, tanking and the various ammunition types that the Heavy Bowgun has available to it. The first build I use is the Elementless build. Now if a bowgun, whether it be heavy or light, does not have any sort of ammunition type that is elemental, then it can benefit from the non-elemental boost skill, increasing its attack. This build is also a build that focuses on the spread ammunition type, so it is a close range Heavy Bowgun build. Nonetheless, this build will also work for weapons that specialise in normal and piercing shots as well. So for this build you'll need the Dragon King Eye Patch Alpha, the Empress Mel Beta, Xeno'jiiva Claws Gamma, Xeno'jiiva Spine Gamma, Xeno'jiiva Spurs Gamma and the Awakening Charm 2. Now as for the weapon, normally I would say the Taroth Assault Glutton, but I don't have this weapon available to me, so instead I've gone with the Taroth Assault Horn. The Horn has more attack than the Glutton, but you have to contend with a negative affinity. I've also put an affinity increase and slot upgrade augmentation onto the weapon. Now as for the jewels, the main mandatory ones would be the Elementless jewel to give you that non-elemental boost. Afterwards, add a release jewel to max out the ammo up skill, increasing the amount of ammunition you have in your clip, and then also add a jewel to boost whatever ammo type you're primarily using. So in this case I've gone with a spread jewel. If I was using normal shots I would go with 4-shot jewels, and if I was using piercing shots I would go with piercing jewel. Afterwards I've gone with a tenderizer jewel to max out weakness exploit, and I've then added as many attack jewels as I have available to me, which I wanted to get to at least attack boost level 4 so I get the bonus affinity, and then I've added expert jewels to help boost the affinity even further. Now if you've done what I've done here, you should have a build with 100 health, 100 stamina, an attack rating of 404, an affinity rating of 20%, this would be 70 so long as you're hitting weak points. Unfortunately though you have high deviation, and for the custom mods I've gone with close range up ×3. I would advise changing this if you're using anything other than spread shots as your primary ammunition type. You also have the Wyvern Heart special ammo, and when it comes to your defences, you're strong against water, thunder and ice, but you're incredibly weak to dragon and fairly weak to fire. As for the skills, you'll have attack boost level 4, critical eye level 4, ammo up level 3, crit boost level 3, weakness exploit level 3, peak performance level 2, which increases our attack even further so long as we have a full health bar, spread shots level 1, power prolonger level 1, this is not really needed on this build whatsoever, it's just a byproduct of the gear, special ammo boost level 1, again a byproduct of the build, but it can come in handy with the Wyvern Heart ammunition type, and then non-elemental boost level 1. You also have the Xeno'jiiva Divinity set bonus, Spare Shot, which gives your shots a chance of not consuming any ammunition type at all. So that's the Elementless build I use. Unfortunately, a lot of it is reliant on high-end gear. The Xeno'jiiva Gamma stuff, as well as the multiple attack jewels, are not going to be available to everyone. But you should be able to build something similar using the Xeno'jiiva Alpha or Beta sets. You could, if you wanted to, drop the Empress Mel Beta for something that does have attack on it, but then you'll be missing out on peak performance. But peak performance isn't for everyone. As I already mentioned, if you have a hold of the Taroth Assault Glutton, that would be the optimal weapon to use with this build, but like I said, the Taroth Assault Horn is a nice alternative. Failing that, the Taroth Assault Flash can also be used, but it is slightly weaker than the Glutton and Horn variants. Anyway, let's move on to the next build, which is the Earplug build. This is a variation of the Elementless build I've just talked about, but incorporates earplugs in favour of the Xeno'jiiva Divinity set bonus. Being able to reload while a monster is roaring is how this build operates. So for this build you'll need the Kaiser Crown Gamma, Emperor's Mel Gamma, the Kirin Longarms Gamma, the Corvtros Malice Beta and Dante's Leather Boots Alpha. You also need the Earplugs Charm 3, and for my weapon again I'm using the Taroth Assault Horn, but this could be replaced with the Glutton or Flash variants. I've also gone for an Infinity Increase augmentation and a slot upgrade augmentation on it. As for your jewels, well the main mandatory ones again will be the Elementless jewel to boost your attack, Release jewel to max out ammo up, and then a spread, force shot or pierce jewel to boost whatever your primary ammunition type is. Again I've gone with spread jewel. Afterwards again I've gone for attack jewels, and then I've added Tenderizer and Mighty Jaws to finish off the build. Now if you've done what I've done here, you should have a build with 100 health, 100 stamina, 404 attack, 31% affinity, so long as you have maximum stamina. This will actually be 81% affinity should you be going for weak points. Unfortunately though, you have high deviation again. Again, I've gone for close range up ×3 thanks to the fact that I'm using spread shots. And you'll also have Wyvern's Heart special ammunition type. As for your defense, you'll have strong defense against fire and thunder, but you'll be fairly weak to water and ice. As for the skills, you'll have the following: Earplugs level 5. This means that you will ignore all monster rules, allowing you to either reposition yourself, damage the monster, or in the case of the Heavy Bowgun with this build, reload as many ammunition types as possible. Afterwards, you have an attack boost level 4, ammo up level 3, weakness exploit level 3, critical eye level 2, maximum might level 2, blight resistance level 1, a byproduct of the gear but can still be useful when it comes to defense, spread shots level 1, handicraft level 1, again a byproduct of the gear, it's not really vital or necessary on any of the ranged weapon builds. Tool specialist level 1, again another byproduct, but still could come in useful for your mantles and boosters, and non-elemental boost level 1. So as you can see, once again this is a high tier build with a lot of endgame materials and gear used within it. You could build something similar using pieces of the Basil Juice armor, but you would be sacrificing affinity or attack. Once again, when it comes to the weapon, the Glutton variant of the Taroth Assault would probably be optimal, but as I've stated, I have yet to get my hands on it, so I am using the Taroth Assault Horn instead. One note as well is that if you are using the earplug build, you don't necessarily have to use the Rocksteady mantle, and you can instead go with something else. Anyway, let's move on to the next build, which is the Heavy Bowgun all-round build. This build is a little bit of a jack of all trades, providing survivability, multiple ammunition types, and just overall high DPS. So for this build, you need the Nergigante Helm Beta, the Corv Taroth's Ire Beta, Draken Vambrace's Alpha, Empress Coil Gamma, Dante's Leather Boots Alpha, and the Awakening Charm 2. For my weapon, I've gone with the Dark Devourer, which is the Devil Joe Heavy Bowgun, with an attack increase and slot upgrade augmentation. I don't normally go with attack increase augmentations on weapons, but because I'm also using the same weapon in a cluster bomb build, which we'll talk about in a moment, I added the attack increase augmentation. Like I said, if you're not interested in cluster bomb builds, I would swap out one of these augmentations for an affinity increase augmentation on it instead. As for your jaws, you need to take your mandatory ones, which mainly include the release jaw to get ammo up to level 3, spread, 4-shot or pierce jaw to boost the attack of whatever primary ammunition type you are using. As you can tell, I am a fan of spread shots with the Heavy Bowgun, so I've gone for a spread jaw. Afterwards, I've added a few attack jaws to get to at least attack boost rank 4, mighty and tenderizer jaws to max out weakness exploit and maximum might, a few expert jaws, and then a vitality jaw just to max out health boost on this kit. Now if you've done what I've done here, you should have a build with 150 health, 100 stamina, 393 attack, 25% affinity so long as you have maximum stamina. This will actually be 75% if you go for weak points. High deviation. For the custom mods, I've added 2 close range up custom mods, as I'll be focusing on spread shots or even cluster bombs, as well as a shield mod so I can block some incoming attacks. You've also got the Wyvern Heart special ammunition, and when it comes to your defense, you've got strong defense against thunder and fire, but you're fairly weak against water and ice. As for your skills, you have attack boost level 4, health boost level 3, which increases your maximum health, ammo up level 3, critical eye level 4, weakness exploit level 3, maximum might level 3, stun resistance level 2, a byproduct of the gear but nonetheless can come in handy when it comes to defense, evade window level 2, which comes in handy for when you're trying to evade a monster, spread shots level 1, and critical boost level 1. Now this build is by no means perfect, it is a little bit of a jack of all trades, trying to combine both some aspects of attack, defense and utility. Unfortunately, whilst not as bad as the other 2 builds, there is still quite a few endgame materials and bits of equipment used in this build, so it may not be accessible for everyone. This build is also quite adaptable thanks to the amount of dual slots it has available to it, so if this build focuses too much on offense, you could swap out some of the maximum might or tenderizer duels in favour for more defensive ones. But anyway, let's move on to the next build, which is the cluster bomb build. This build only really works if you're playing solo or when you're playing in a group where everyone is using a heavy bowgun or ranged weaponry. So for this build you need the Xeno'jiiva Headgear Beta, the Kirin Jacket Gamma, Draken Vambrace's Alpha, Xeno'jiiva Spine Gamma, and the Xeno'jiiva Spurs Gamma. I've also gone with an Attack Charm 3 And for my weapon, again I'm using the Dark Devourer, which is the Devil Joe Heavy Bowgun. As for the augmentations, I've gone for an attack increase and slot upgrade. As this build is focusing purely on cluster bombs, which cannot crit a monster, affinity is really not needed on this build. As for your jewels, I've gone for a mixed bag here. First I've gone for a release jewel to max out ammo up. Afterwards I've gone for jewels to try to max out my attack boost, and then I've gone for either flawless jewels or fervor jewels, or a combination of both. As this build is a little bit of a tank build, there will be points where you have maximum health, so the flawless jewels will kick in and peak performance will activate, increasing your damage, and there'll be points where you've taken damage thanks to having a lack of mobility, resulting in you having a portion of red health, which will activate the fervor jewels, resulting in the resentment boost to your attack. I've also added a few vitality jewels for survivability to the build. Now, if you don't know what I've done here, you should have a build with 150 health, 100 stamina, 407 attack, minus 14% affinity, high deviation. For the custom mods, I've added close range up, ×3. You'll have the Wyvern Heart special ammo, and when it comes to defense, you'll have a strong defense against thunder, but you're fairly weak against fire. As for the skills, you'll have attack boost level 7, health boost level 3, ammo up level 3, peak performance level 3, critical eye level 2, critical boost level 2. This is really just a byproduct of the gear, it's not really needed whatsoever. Resentment level 1, flinch free level 1, again a byproduct of the gear, but can be useful. And you'll also have the Xeno Divinity set bonus spare shot, which means that your shots have a chance of not consuming a bullet. So there we have it, this is the cluster bomb build. Obviously some aspects of it, namely the Xeno'jiiva Gamma bits, are not available for everyone at the moment. They will be eventually, but they can be easily replaced with Xeno'jiiva Alpha or Beta bits. In fact, the budget build that I'll be showing off later is very similar to this one, but we'll cover that towards the end. Now the main tactics for this build is to simply plant your hunter in a good position, normally with a health booster and the Rocksteady mantle on, and just spam cluster bombs as much as possible. And when your hunter goes to reload the cluster bombs, use the radial menu to craft more cluster bombs on the fly before firing again. If done right, you should be able to constantly barrage a monster, bringing them down incredibly quickly. However, if you are playing with others, namely melee users, cluster bombs can send other hunters flying. So be courteous if you decide to use this build when playing with others. Anyway, let's move on to the next build, which is the Cluster Bomb version 2 build. Now this build sacrifices the Xeno'jiiva gear in favour of survivability and health regen. But we still keep that Xeno'jiiva spare shot set bonus thanks to the Empress Cannon Sticks, which is the Lunastra Cross Xeno'jiiva Heavy Bowgun. So for this build we'll need the Kulvtros Fury Beta, the Valhazak Mel Gamma, Valhazak Braces Beta, Valhazak Coil Gamma, and the Kirin Leg Guards Beta. I've also gone with an attack charm 3, and for my weapon I'm using the Empress Cannon Sticks, which has a health regen augmentation on it. Now as for the jewels, I've gone for attack jewels to max out the attack boost. Afterwards I've gone for vitality jewels to max out my health boost. I've also added a medicine and recovery jewels to add extra points to recovery speed and recovery up, which should all help the survivability of this build. And then afterwards I've gone for a flawless jewel to max out peak performance, and then I've gone for fervor jewels to boost the resentment skill. As I mentioned in the last build, having the bonuses from peak performance and resentment intertwined with one another means that you should get one of these bonuses active at any one point. If you're taking damage, resentment will activate. If you're not and have maximum health, peak performance should be active. Now, if you've done what I've done here, you should have a build with 150 health, 100 stamina, 339 attack, 15% affinity, low deviation. For the custom mods, I've gone with close range up ×3. You have the Wyvern Snipe special ammo, and when it comes to defenses, you're strong against water and thunder, but you're fairly weak against the rest. As for your skills, you have attack boost level 7, health boost level 3, recovery speed level 3, ammo up level 3, peak performance level 3, resentment level 3, recovery up level 2, dragon attack level 1, which is a byproduct of the gear, it's not really needed in this build, agitator level 1, again a byproduct, not really needed, and you'll have the spare shot level 1 thanks to the Empress Cannon Sticks. You'll also have the Valhazak Vitality super recovery set bonus, which when combined with recovery up, recovery speed, and the health regen augmentation means that you should be able to recover quite a bit of health without having to actually stop and manually heal. This means that when you're doing the cluster bomb tactic, even if your health booster isn't active, you should still be able to recover quite a bit of health. Now this build, in all honesty, is a little bit easier to craft than the cluster bomb build that uses the Xeno'jiiva Gamma pieces, and it comes with a little bit more survivability. The downside is it lacks the pure attack power of the first cluster bomb build. Anyway, let's move on to the next build, which is a little bit of an unusual build, as this is by no means perfect. It's kind of a mishmash that was used specifically for Extreme Behemoth. So this is the Extreme Behemoth Tank Heavy Bowgun build. This build was the build I used to actually take down Extreme Behemoth, and is an incredibly strong defensive build. So for this build you'll need the Empress Crown Gamma, the Kirin Jacket Gamma, Draken Van Braces Alpha, Empress Coil Beta, and the Empress Greaves Beta. You also have an Attack Charm free, and for my weapon I'm using the Empress Cannon Sticks again with a health regen augmentation on it. As for your jaws, these are mainly focused at taking on Extreme Behemoth. So I've gone with a release jaw to max out ammo up. Afterwards I've gone for a shield jaw to allow me to block unblockable attacks. I've also gone with a Mind's Eye jaw, as there are points when fighting Extreme Behemoth when you're actually quite a distance away from him, and having the Mind's Eye jaw increases the critical range of your shots. I've also got Vitality jaws to max out my health, Defense Lock jaws to prevent defense down, which is an issue you'll have to contend with when fighting Behemoth and Extreme Behemoth. And then afterwards I've gone for a few jaws to aid in my DPS via Tenderizer, Flawless, and Attack jaws. Now if you've done what I've done here, you should have a build with 150 health, 150 stamina, 333 attack, 21% affinity, which is 71% should you be going for weak points, low deviation. For the custom mods I've gone for shields ×3, which coupled with guard up and the high stamina cap means that you should be able to block a lot of incoming damage. You also have the Wyvern Snipe special ammo, and when it comes to defense you're fairly strong against fire and thunder, but weak to ice. As for your skills, you have attack boost level 6, iron skin level 3, health boost level 3, ammo up level 3, weakness exploit level 3, critical eye level 2, peak performance level 2, wide range level 2, tool specialist level 2, ballistics or mind's eye level 1, guard up level 1, and spare shot level 1. You'll also have the Lunostra favor set bonus, stamina cap up, increasing your overall stamina, which does help when it comes to blocking attacks. Now as I said, this build is an Extreme Behemoth tank build, focused on survivability over anything else. Yes, there are a few duels that are focused on DPS, but that is because there are a few phases during Extreme Behemoth where there is a DPS check, and if you don't do enough damage, then it ruins the hunt for everyone. You can, if you want, change some of the jaws, especially if you are using this build in other hunts. For example, the defense lock jaws can be swapped out for something to give you a little bit more attack, like expert jaws. Nonetheless, regardless of what monster you are using this build on, you'll have incredibly high survivability, and you'll be incredibly tough to kill. Just remember when it comes to blocking attacks, not to get greedy when firing, because when you fire that shot, you cannot block an attack. So the best strategy is to fire, and as soon as you see the monster going for an attack, just aim in the monster's general direction to block its attack, and then after the attack is finished, fire again, rinse and repeat. Anyway, let's move on to the next build, which is a bit of a gimmick build called the Sticky build. This build relies on sticky shots, which have quite a bit of knockout power. So this has been combined with jaws to create a knockout build of sorts. Also, because the explosion from sticky ammo cannot crit, it means that we don't have to worry about affinity with this build. Anyway, for this build you need the Xeno'jiiva Headgear Beta, Xeno'jiiva Hide Gamma, Xeno'jiiva Claws Gamma, the Kulftarov's Malice Beta, and the Kirin Leg Guards Beta. I've also gone with an Attack Charm free, and for my weapon I'm using the Taroth Assault Blast with an attack increase augmentation on it. The main reason I'm using this weapon is because it has all 3 sticky ammo levels available to it. But this can be easily replaced with anything just so long as it has all levels of sticky ammo. As for your duels, I've gone with an Elementless duel, as this weapon doesn't actually have any elemental ammunition types, so it gets that bonus from the non-elemental boost. I've then added artillery duels, which actually increases the damage of sticky ammunition. I've then added attack duels to add to the attack boost, and then I've gone with KO duels to boost the knockout power of the sticky ammunition. I've also added a flawless gem just to add a little bit of peak performance to the build. Now if you've done what I've done here, you should have a build with 100 health, 100 stamina, 372 attack, 15% affinity, high deviation. I've added 3 recoil suppressors for the customization mods. You also have the Wyvern Snipe special ammunition type, and when it comes to defense you'll have high defense against thunder, but you're fairly weak to fire and dragon. As for the skills, you have attack boost level 6, ammo up level 3, slugger level 3, artillery level 3, flinch free level 3, which is a byproduct of the gear but it can still be useful when it comes to defense, power prolonger level 1, handicraft level 1, both of these are byproducts of the gear, they're not really needed whatsoever, peak performance level 1, special ammo boost level 1, which boosts the power of Wyvern Snipe, and non-elemental boost level 1. You also have the Xeno'jiiva Divinity spare shot set bonus, which means that your shots have a chance of not consuming a bullet. Now unfortunately this build does rely on a few gamma pieces of the Xeno'jiiva set, but they can be easily replaced with the alpha or beta, but it may mean that you have to fiddle around with the gems a little bit more. Now this build unfortunately works best in solo play. When it came to playtesting this build, you were easily able to stun lock a monster with the sticky ammunition type so long as you were hitting it in the head. In solo play, this build made it incredibly easy, but when it came to group play, unfortunately because monsters are buffed and have increased resistances, it meant that the KO power was inadequate and led to longer fights. One thing I will say about this build is, just as with the cluster bomb builds, it is advisable to have on your radial menu the ability to craft sticky ammunition, as you have very limited supplies of the stuff. Anyway, let's move on to the final build, which is the budget build. This is a build you can craft with just the base vanilla version of Monster Hunter World. You don't have to have any extras or add-ons or updates to the game to craft this build. Now with the Heavy Bowgun, this build primarily works similar to the cluster bomb build, but it can make use of other ammunition types if you wish. So for this build you need the Xeno'jiiva Headgear Beta, Dobermail Beta, Zora Claws Beta, Xeno'jiiva Spine Beta, and the Xeno'jiiva Spurs Beta. I've also got an Awakening Charm 2, and for the weapon I'm using the Magda Gemitus 2. This has 2 attack increase augmentations on it. Now as for the jewels, you may not have many options available to you. As this build is focusing on cluster bombs more than anything else, it means that I've foregone any affinity boosted jewels. Instead I've gone for jewels such as sheath jewels to allow me to sheath the weapon quickly, attack jewels to boost the attack boost a little bit. Granted, I do understand that not all of you will have as many attack jewels as shown here, but if you do then use them. And I've also added a few true shot jewels to boost the wyvern snipe of the weapon. Now if you've done what I've done here, you should have a build with 100 health, 100 stamina, 375 attack, minus 15% affinity, high deviation unfortunately. For the custom mods I've gone with close range up ×3, and you also have the wyvern snipe special ammo. When it comes to defenses, you're fairly strong against water, thunder and ice, but weak against fire and dragon. As for your skills, you have attack boost level 5, ammo up level 3, quick sheath level 3, which comes in handy, especially with the Heavy Bowgun for sheathing your weapon to reposition. Blight resistance level 2, a byproduct of the gear but can still be useful. Special ammo boost level 2, and flinch free level 2, again a byproduct of the gear. You also have the Xeno'jiiva Divinity spare shot set bonus, which means that your shots have a chance of not consuming a bullet. Now this build is highly customizable. As I said, the way I've got it set up at the moment is for using cluster bombs, but if you wanted to use something different like spread shots, you can easily customize the jewels if needed. There are a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 gem slots in this build, so you can easily add affinity boosting gems or jewels to boost whatever primary ammunition type you are using. Nonetheless, this build is still quite potent and can easily bring monsters down. So there we have it, those are the builds that I like to use for the Heavy Bowgun. Of course Monster Hunter World is always being updated with new monsters and gear which can potentially cause these builds to change and become even stronger. So if any major updates happen to any of these builds, I'll be sure to release an updated video. Remember also that any task in Monster Hunter World can be taken on with almost any weapon and gear set, so you don't have to use what I use in these videos. These are just the sets that I personally like to use. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful or informative, and until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you the builds I use for the Heavy Bowgun in Monster Hunter World. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.